740 The Fan. Talkin Money. Talkin Money.
Let's rejoin your host, Jeff Tarbell, and Talkin Money.
Right. We'll give this a shot and see if this works any better. We're out behind a thin piece of rubberized plastic, so I'm sure this will be all the sound barrier that we need. And I think that we're in between races here a little bit too, so appreciate your patience. And we may have to just go for a 1-hour show today. We'll play it by ear and see how it goes. Jeff Tarbell and John Farrell's jumped in. Even we've got security here. Pete Harger is showing up. Guns blazing, so if you try to storm the radio show, well, you have to find us first. We're behind the third porta potty in the plastic booth there. So you set to go there, Johnny?
Yes, I am. Kind of.
Welcome to. Now you know why I come out on like a Tuesday or Wednesday and try to figure out, okay, where are we going to sit and what is this going to sound like? So
yeah, and that didn't quite work out, did it?
Now we're back. Oh, they took a break there, so here we go. Anyway, I was mentioning before the break there. I think the whole Facebook thing always fascinates me because we are a society that wants to. When a new company comes out like that, we want to hold them up as being the next and greatest thing, and certainly Facebook made that leap. And now that they have become billionaires in some cases, or the owners at least, and a lot of the people there, we'll see if they get held out to that same standard as time goes on. I did note that I knew that the papers this morning would come out and say, you know, this was a total flop, this was a mess. I can't believe the stock didn't do anything yesterday. And as I mentioned before the break, if I'm someone who owns a company and I finally decide I'm going to take it public, and I have to put a price on my company, you know, we're used to assuming that the first day the stock is just going to double in price, which means that, to me, that means that whoever priced that thing didn't get me the full value as the owner. It's like, right. Why do I want to sell? Why do I want to put a stock out on the exchange that's at $20 so John can buy it the next day, you know, at $40? I guess if I own the $20 shares and people buy $40, if I could sell them and get my $40 worth, that's great. But as an owner, a lot of people on the end of selling things, if you are one of the original holders or you're someone who's got some stock, there's a waiting period for you to sell. So I guess you will eventually boomerang with it if all the shares go with it, and you sell at $40. But I want the most value out of my company to begin with. So
keep it solid.
Yeah, so I think at $38, what the market looked at and said is probably. Well, the market tells you exactly what they think about it. If they thought it was undervalued, they would have bid it up. Right. If they thought it was overvalued, they would have run it down. So it ends up at basically where it starts, which basically means the market thinks that company doesn't have, that's about $100 billion company. They don't think that it has any more value than that, but not a lot less. So I think now you start to see, okay, now what is this company going to do? Right. Because now they have to tell everybody what they're doing. They got to tell everybody how they're making money. They got to tell, so now you're going to get a real you're going to get a real look at this company and decide, do these guys know what they're doing? Do they have the right team or do they not? And you start to look at some of the articles that we have. And so I think that Facebook early on this year, last year, started looking around and saying, okay, look, we're going to get a boatload of money pretty quick here. We better figure out what to do with it and how to generate some money from it, or how to buy some things that we need. And so this is fascinating because you don't have to be part of Facebook to make a lot of money down there in the internet world. You look at this graph of all these companies that were bought up by Facebook, Groupon, Zynga. These are little companies that have their own little niche, and Instagram is the big home run hitter. They got $1 billion for their company. But there's a lot of companies I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of OMG Pops, like Oh My God Pop, OMG Pop, Instagram, Uptake, Friend Feed? These are little companies that had their own little niche in the internet world that the bigger boys now have come in and said, you know what, there's something about that, some niche in there that they have that's easier for us to go buy it. So, for someone who says, well, boy, I'll never be a Mark Zuckerberg, you don't have to be a Mark Zuckerberg. Right. These guys are getting paid $50 million, $180 million, $1 billion. These companies, these little startup companies, they're just in the right area doing their own little niche of something that they have someone will come gobble you up.
Most of them are putting out a product that really is free, and they have huge databases of people. And
Yep.
that's what they want.
They're attracting large groups of people, or in this case, so AOL, who's just
Are they still around?
yeah. I was just saying that a few weeks ago. I said, AOL was the very first Facebook. I mean, when you went to AOL, you were, the instant messenger and the chat rooms and all the different things you could do. I mean, that was kind of the first version of Facebook. They just screwed it up.
Right.
They
didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they got off on some other kind of track. So, but AOL owns a considerable number of different patents and different things that they have, and so they recently made $550 million worth of sales to Microsoft and to Facebook recently. AOL, who's probably hasn't generated that much money in the last couple of years, selling off their patents and selling off all the things that they did early that they did right. So I think it's fascinating now to see what will happen to, will Mark Zuckerberg become a Bill Gates in terms of how Bill Gates was. Remember before Bill Gates decided to give all his money away? People, they were vilifying that guy.
Oh, for sure.
He stole this from Apple. He did this. He doesn't have, there was always a bad story about Bill Gates until he decided to give away his money and start.
So far, Zuckerberg's just paying cash for everything.
Yeah, he's paying cash. He's just buying firms, but we'll see. We'll see.
Not stealing it yet.
We'll see if well, of course, there was a fairly decent movie about him stealing something.
Yes, there was
early on. So we'll see.
It'll continue to grow. He's got a co-founder, Eduardo Saverin, which I don't know a whole lot about it, but apparently
he was in the movie.
Yes.
What did he do?
Well, he's defriending the United States. Apparently, he's changing his citizenship.
Oh. Now this, if you remember, Eduardo Saverin, he was the guy in the movie, who put up the initial money.
Correct.
And actually, the movie was a lot about the Social Network was a lot about their relationship between the two of them, and he ended up, suing back and winning. But you remember that it was what was the guy from the music guy?
The singer. Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake's person. I just went blank on the guy from. Anyway.
From the radio, the music download.
Yeah, the download. So it was him that kind of bumped Eduardo Saverin out. So he wants to not be a United States citizen anymore?
That's what it's saying here.
What does he want to be when he grows up?
He wants more money. Apparently, there's a lot of speculation out there. He's trying to save millions in tax dollars, and there's a lot of different overreactions and jokes, and lots of good stuff out there on him. So I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about it.
So there's a period of time where I don't recall if it's a year or if it's 6 months, but there's a period of time where the initial people who have their initial stock in any public company have to sit on it. So I'm wondering if this is a preemptive move to say I'm going to move to a country that has no tax, and then you sell your stock while you're a citizen of another country.
Right. There's a lot of speculation, but I believe that is part of it.
So would you, if you were going to become a multi-billionaire, would you become a non-U.S. citizen?
Well, we got 19% support what he's doing. 49% of people oppose it. 30 people say it's an overreacting, and then there's a bunch of jokes about it. Apparently 2% say it's a joke. So one of the quotes says, "Take your dirty Facebook money and leave."
Okay. So Eduardo Saverin is going to sell his profits when he's outside the United States, I guess. This is interesting. We'll see how Facebook does raising some money. One of the reasons I think that their stock didn't go higher yesterday was I don't think people know if Facebook knows how to make money yet. I mean, really make money. And you take a look at what they call the per user advertising revenue generated. So it's a hard number because nobody has as many users as Facebook does. So they could get an enormous amount of money in advertising revenue, and when you divide it out over the 800 million users they have, it's like 8 cents a piece. So I don't think we're comparing apples for apples here, but we're comparing them to Google. And ads on Facebook rate low in the survey. Now I will tell you as an anecdotal, I have advertised on Facebook along the side there, and it could have been a very poor ad. It could have been structured wrong, but I can't identify anybody who's ever said, hey, I even saw your ad on Facebook, and maybe I wasn't budgeting enough. But General Motors decided they were budgeting enough. $10 million last year, which for them is like you and I dropping like a buck and a half on the ground and leaving it. But General Motors put in $10 million in Facebook last year, and they decided last week that they were not going to continue doing that, which was kind of interesting about their timing. We'll pull out right before they go public, but General Motors decided, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore, at least until they change it. So here's a little survey. 13% of the people who are on Facebook said that they trust Facebook completely or a lot about keeping their information confidential. 13%? 13%, yeah.
It's not too many.
No, it's not too many. And their average per user advertising revenue for Facebook is only about $4.34. Now, there's a lot of users, so that's a lot of money. It's a big number. But you compare that to Google. Google raises about $30 a user in advertising revenue. So they're the most, obvious next person, next company to kind of look yourself against. So if you ask yourself, would I spend $38 to buy some Facebook stock? Well, I have a feeling that there are people in that building, or they will find somebody in that building that will get them from $4 a user to $30.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Or somewhere close. And if they get themselves from $4 in ad revenue to $30 on the number of people they have, that company's going to make a boatload of money.
Yes.
And if you have shares at $38 a share, you're going to make some money. So it's a little bit of a risk in terms of, I guess they could flame out. I just find it probably not realistic that they're going to totally screw this thing up. They could be the next AOL. I mean, that's what AOL did. AOL flamed out. They sold out to, I think it was Time or Big Time Media or something, and then they became irrelevant. I don't know if that will happen here.
Yeah, I think with Zuckerberg and how young he is and his staff, I think that they're probably got a lot of things on their plate, a lot of things they can do to continue to grow and make this show a profit and keep it going. Look at Apple, look at some of these other companies.